And thank you to the Applied Client Network for hosting us today. My name is Mislav Majic. I am the CRO of SimplePin. We are a insurtech company. We deliver digital payment solutions to eliminate friction between insurance providers and their end customers. And we're very happy today to have our special guest, Kim Walker. He's the CEO of Specialty Market Insurance Consultants. Kim, welcome, and please let the audience know a little bit more about yourself and your organization.
All right. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being here today. Special Markets Insurance Consultants, or otherwise known as SMIC, is in the special risk area, and we do accident medical, college health, and general liability. Our main markets are insuring kids, amateur sports, events, camps, clinics, items such as that. We're also in the K through 12th. We're doing accident medical for kids on playgrounds, at school, and on sporting events. Another area that we've entered is also the college health business, which is really inbound international students coming into the country. As you saw, we're part of AmWINS, and AmWINS is a wholesaler with about $18 billion in premium. It's a global company, about 5,500 employees, and their markets are property, casualty, benefits, is our main areas, with offices all over the United States and also UK and other areas. That's a quick overview of who I am.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that's why we're very excited to have you. It's such a broad spectrum of your experience and reach of your organization. We have a great agenda today for you. The topics that we'll be covering is how the insurance industry has changed, is changing, and what potentially the future would look like. How the customer interactions and expectations, as well as their experience dealing with insurance provider, is changing, and importance of that. Within that, obviously, there's been a lot of change, so we'll delve into identifying different digital transformation that might be right for your organization. One of the things we'll look at is value of digitizing payments. Obviously, the relationship between a customer and a provider starts with a payment, so it's the first experience. There's a lot of value of digitizing that payment chain, and we will look at it from two different angles: the difference between electronic payments versus a digital experience, so what that looks like, and then we'll list out the value. As Sarah mentioned, at the end, we will leave some time for Q&A, so please send us the questions. We'll try to answer all the questions. If we can't get to your question because we have an hour limit, we'll make sure to follow up. So at this point, when we look at the impacts and the evolving of the insurance industry, I think we have to start with COVID-19. It's something that we're all dealing with in any business that we're in, as well as in personal life. So Kim, I wanted to sort of flip this first slide or the question over to you around how has COVID impacted your business organizations, your brokerages, as well as end customers?
And like jumping right into the big one, like everybody, I think, is this pandemic has impacted most businesses out there. It's affected the insurance industry and how we operate. Most of us are in this business, it's a relationship business, so we're used to seeing each other and doing things face to face. That's changed, and it's caused people now to start working out of their home, and how that they handle those challenges with young families dealing with their kids at home. It's something that obviously none of us have any experience doing. But as we work through this, it has showed also on the insurance industry that we're able to adapt pretty quickly, and having the technology to work out of your home and connect with customers and connect with your fellow employees. As we try to engage with our agents and brokers, and we're doing it differently, as I just said, and they're doing the same thing with their clients. They have to do it differently. The one thing I say will change is, I travel a lot for work. I haven't been in an airport since beginning of February, so it's not that I miss it. But what it has changed is that we now realize that probably going forward, are we going to have to jump on that airplane? Can we do things through Zoom? So I think it's going to change how we move forward and how we do business. I think as far as how this pandemic has affected how we do business, and as I just told you, how what Special Markets or SMIC does, we're doing schools, we're covering kids on playgrounds, we're covering camps, we're covering sporting events. Obviously, that affected us because it's just not happening. Mm-hmm. And as we go into this fall, schools are trying to figure out what they're going to do. Are they doing virtual? Are they doing a combination? Are they in school? And depending on state, district, you're in, each one's making their own decisions. Will there be football this fall? All of those affect what Special Markets does. The great thing about AmWINS, though, with being diversified as they are, is in different lines of business, we're able to, weather the storm through this, and having a balance within the organization really helps. And that was the whole design when AmWINS was put together years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, makes sense. I think you covered a lot of broad topics that we can all relate to. Some of the things that you mentioned, and I know you and I chatted about it, this crisis driving innovation. Your view is crisis driving us to adopt. But it is about rethinking how we interact with partners as well as customers. Customer expectations were already shifting, so it seems like that the adoption is much quicker because that's where we were heading. But in some ways, it is creating opportunity because we are, as you were mentioning, maybe potentially going to be traveling a lot less and reaching out and communicating in our customers the way their expectations were trending anyways, like the Zooms. Is that your suspicion or at least experience?
I think it is, from the way we're looking at it, is, it's going to change in how we move forward. I don't think any of us are going to be doing the same thing we're doing before. And as we look from our competitors, we look at what we're doing, and we look at our customer, which is the broker agent, and how do we interact with them versus the way we've done in the past. I think it's interesting as you see our clients, which is our broker agents, as they have to deal with their clients, that's changing. So yeah, does Zoom come in? I think so. And I'm sure all of us have been on Zoom calls, and we can do this. It's different. I miss the interaction between people, because that's why you're in the relationship business. That's part of it. But I think this is going to change quite a bit as we move forward. And I think it is when we deal with our carriers. They're trying to figure this out. One other thing I will mention is that, as I mentioned, this relationship that we have in this business, and our agents and brokers are important to SMIC, and it's important to AmWINS and how we move forward. And our goal there is to help them with their clients. And part of the things that we do is, our goal is to give that broker agent advice on our products, and we're in a niche, and we put ourselves out as the expert in that niche, and our goal is to make it as less painful to do business with us. And so technology is really going to lead us towards that. And as we've always said, we want to make it easy for anybody to do business with us.
Yeah, I think that's an important factor. The two factors here, that your end customer actually is the broker, but you are so deeply rooted and involved with them to help them make it easy to deal with the broker, and in that way SMIC and AmWINS, through technology. Well, continuing on more positive, I guess, topic of industry evolving is we are in a new world. I know you and I had a number of conversations around how do people want to communicate with, online, internet, mobile phones. It is a new way that we're living in, and dissemination of information is happening in different ways. Reaching that customer has changed. We also have an influx of millennials and new customers, obviously a great opportunity for insurer providers for new business because they'll be looking for insurance policies. And with that, there's a breadth of solutions. With all of that evolving and changing, it is interesting, at least for me as a bit of an outsider looking at it and seeing that the insurers are placing such a great importance on other factors. So not just looking at policy and price, but other factors to win customers. That broker is starting to become extremely important again, because it is about accessing the right information. You told me some insurance products are very simple, but there's a lot of insurance products where you need just somebody knowledgeable to guide you through, and you want access to that. And the research is also showing that the customers are saying the same thing, that over almost half of them feel that that experience is an important factor that when they're making a purchase. Can you walk us through a bit about, from your experience, your brokers, your organization, around this evolution of how we talk to customers, the new customers, and that importance of accessibility and experience?
Yes, it's another loaded question. As far as the insurance industry keeping up with the demands, we always can do better than we have. And I think from a technology standpoint, we have a long ways to go. I've always said when you're on the wholesale side or the broker agent side, we're a little more adaptable than the insurance company side just because we're usually smaller. And we can adapt quicker to our customers' needs. And I don't see that changing. I think the broker-agent relationship with clients won't change. I think it's important in our industry that we have that. And, it's a history of that, and I still see going forward. Now, I think how it changes is, from technology and what we use that knowledge for. And again, I'm no tech expert at all. I've been doing this business for a long time, so I've seen a lot of change in this. And part of it is the end customer. I know who our broker agent is dealing with. And you mentioned millennials. You're looking at some of the younger age groups and how they operate. And, they operate based on cell phones. Last time I traveled, which was probably January or early February, I was on an escalator in the Atlanta airport, and I was going up, and you have those long escalators in Atlanta, so you go from gate to gate or terminal to terminal. And it's, I was watching the people come down, and I would say most of them were all sitting there staring at their cell phone. And, that's just how things are evolving. Or you go to a meeting, and days when I started, we come with a pen and a paper. They don't do that anymore. I mean, everybody walks in with a laptop. Mm-hmm. And that's how they take their notes, and that's how they operate. So you see some of that, and that's basic things. But from, operating systems and how we connect and change, how we connect with our broker. And again, as I mentioned earlier, at special markets, our goal is to make it as easy as possible for someone to do business with us. And part of what we do is we write a lot of policies. We write 18,000 policies a year. And a lot of those are very small policies. And so for a broker agent to be able to, come to us, and we can handle that and do that through technology, it makes it much easier. It's a much easier transaction for us and for them. I think it's, going forward, it is the tech challenges that the insurance industry has will be challenging. And it continues to push it out. And even as I've seen, as we see on ads every day, the Geico's, the progressives, and what they're trying to do is make everything online, which from personal line standpoints, you can do some of that, which is different than, going to your agent and having to, they do your auto and homeowners. So, you've seen some of that change. That will continue to change on.
Well, it might have been a loaded question, but you gave us a lot of food for thought there. At least from my perspective, I'm looking at it and thinking the process of insurance and the relationship and how the sale is made will probably stay the same, but how we reach that customer, how do we communicate with them, is going to be changing with the Zooms and cell phones and online and so on. And finally, looking at especially your business where it's a large volume of policies, though there might be small dollar ticket item, the technology is not just about experience, but being able to help internal automation. So you did cover a broad spectrum there. Thank you for that. Which perfectly, I guess, plays into the next part of the evolving of the insurance, that's digital transformation or disruption. It doesn't seem to be something that people are chatting about. It's not theoretical anymore. It's very practical. And for the last number of years, not just because of COVID, the insurance industry has been answering the call, if you will, of the customer and trying to improve their systems and be able to communicate in the way they want to be communicating. To me, the biggest stat here is pretty much all insurance providers are looking to invest in technology over the next few years. So you touched up on number of areas here around, the volumes and internal operations. Can you share with us a little more about how the technology part is impacting what you do at SMIC or at AmWINS? And I always find it interesting that you're in a unique position because the broker is your customer, but you work closely with those brokers to reach the end customer. And in that K1 space, recreational sports and so on, the communication between recreational sports and insurance providers has changed dramatically over the last number of years. At least I know from having 3 kids and having to sign up to team snaps and so on. So your team and as well as your partners had to go through a major shift or adoption in order to be able to reach to those markets. Can you just give us a little bit of insight around that?
Yeah, it's if you look at national organizations, when you're talking about kids sports, and I guess that's the easiest one to identify, and you take your kid to sign up, whether it's soccer, softball, baseball, park rec, whatever it may be. And most of the time you're doing that, you're not filling out an application, with a pen and paper. Most of it's being done it's online. So you do it all in, you pay by credit card, and that application comes in. And that organization works with the broker, and that broker will work with us. And we accept that digital process through that technology. So so we know who's enrolled in it. We know they paid the premiums that is due. And at the same time, what we do there is that if we can pay the commission paid to a broker, obviously through electronic distribution, the digital aspect, it makes our job a little easier. Doesn't all work that way, but there's still commission checks that we issue. But as we move towards this type of process now, and what I described with these organizations, this isn't new. They've been doing this stuff. This has been doing these for years. What's changed is how they interact and how they enroll things and bring, I guess, the roster list to us, so we know who's insured. That has probably changed the most over the last 5 to 10 years. And it's just as, again, you're trying to keep this process as simple as you can. And once again, it comes down to, less pain points, makes it a lot easier. It also takes that human error out, so you're not doing it manually. It's something that we talk about it a lot internally at SMIC. We talk a lot about that within AmWINS and certain organizations within AmWINS. And I guess it's just efficiency. That's what we're trying to do. And efficiency helps us, helps the broker, agent, and it helps us.
Well, makes sense. I mean, it's something that we will touch up on later on, but it's looking at the friction points, making it simple, but not making it simple just for the end customer, but also, not solve one problem by creating another problem internally. So I like the way that you and AmWINS approach the market, looking at where the friction points are and how to make it simple to deal with you, but also make it simple for your staff to be able to support that. Speaking of which, we've talked about changing customers' interactions. How do they like to be connected with, in order to grow our business? We obviously have to adapt. Doesn't mean that the traditional ways are gone by, but like that person, or not person, like everybody in the Atlanta airport looking at the phone, it is about delivering the message and communicating the way they want to be communicated and creating that great experience. So in many ways, we look at that drive towards digitization is really around the customer experience or how they want to be interacted. One of the interesting stats that we always look at is that today research shows that a customer is almost twice as likely to shop for a new policy, not because of price, but because they had a bad experience or it wasn't convenient, which is potentially surprising, but maybe not, with customers changing their expectations towards convenience changing, and also with so much innovation and technology being deployed, as you kind of mentioned, around Geico's and so on, so that access to information being very easy. I know customer experience is top of mind, not just for insurance, but really for a lot of organizations, be that manufacturing, distribution. I just wanted to get your take on this. And again, I think you have a unique perspective because your end customer is the broker that sells to the consumer, but you are involved throughout that chain as well, almost to the end customer as well.
Well, as the customers are changing, I think that's a lot. We touched a little bit on it earlier, just from an age group standpoint, it's just how the younger generation it interacts. And it's one of those, I always say, people don't wake up every day thinking they're going to need to go out and buy some insurance. It's one of those, it's always been a need base. They have to have it, whether it's auto, whether it's homeowners, whether it's a business owner, whatever it may be. It's something that we need, and we have to buy it. And obviously how you deliver it and how you handle things, I mean, is the customer changes, and the end user and which is our broker, agents, clients, how do you interact with them? I mean, it is, you never thought, at least I would never think that, we're doing everything as the young people do today. And actually it's in my family, Amazon shows up at my house way too often. And, and they do everything online, and there's no touchy feel. It's one of those, they see it, they buy it, boom, if they don't like it, they send it back. And it works. And obviously, as you can see, you can see in reading the papers, and not just because of the pandemic, but these malls and these stores are struggling, and that definitely from this pandemic they really are. But I think do these malls become Amazon warehouses? I don't know, but that's changing the delivery of not only that product, but also we look at from the insurance aspect. How do we change that? And if they're used to buying, that as we move along, you're used to buying everything online. Well, certain products within the insurance business, possibly you can buy online, that interaction with it. But as I said earlier, that I don't want to take anything back is from our agents and brokers, because I still believe, and learned this a long time ago, insurance is bought. Insurance is sold. It is not bought.
Mhm.
And I really believe that expertise that an agent, a broker, an AmWINS, a SMIC brings to the table is important. Helping them make the right decision on the coverages they need. It's, and I don't know where it changes and how it goes on, but obviously technology is going to play a huge play as we move forward.
That makes a lot of sense. I did want to ask you about the customer experience. And yes, customers are changing when we're talking about younger folks entering the workforce and their expectations being different. But I know you and I chatted, and I bringing up personal experience, which may the first rule of marketing is what you do doesn't mean that everybody else does. But over the years, I was the one that always had to have $20 in my wallet if something happens. And as we get more comfortable, you know, we're relying on online payments, online experiences, research. We trust the Google, if you will, and we trust online banking. Are you seeing that customer experience shifting, not just for the young folks entering the market for insurance, but even with some of the existing customers, you know, looking for simpler ways to pay or simpler ways to get insurance or reach to brokers and so on?
Well, I think it is, you know, easier ways to pay, and is, I don't know, it's, do you write so many checks today? Do you do everything through, you know, technology now? Do you transfer money from account to account instead of, you know, the old days going into a bank? I'm dating myself, I know, but that's not what happens today. And it's the check writing and all this. So I think from a digital standpoint, it's going to play a big change in how we do things going forward. And I've said it over again in this conversation, but I really do think that's going to change, and it has changed. But from an insurance aspect, we got to do a better job of that, and again, making it easier to our customers to pay for their premium, to pay whatever it is, to make changes. So you're doing everything, I guess, from the payment aspect, you know, from, you know, your computer or your phone.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And I think something that you mentioned is that there is so many different facets going on, but not everything is valuable for everybody's business, which I think brings us perfectly to the next topic, is expediting digital transformation. I think one of the keys that we see is throughout this journey, and thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's just great to hear somebody with that much experience talking about different facets. But what really stuck with me was the fact that there's so much going on, but not everything will be valuable, and not everything will be valuable for every organization. So some of the key questions when you're looking to expedite the digital transformation for most companies is, where do we even start, right? Because there's just so much going on. So 3 areas that we always look at is streamlining the friction points. And I think you alluded to that, looking at, you know, where there are friction, where there's, you know, where can we simplify it and make it easier for the end customer as well as our internal staff, which naturally brings us to focus on your customer journey, be it that you're selling commercial, personal lines, K through 12, as you mentioned, the customer journey might be different. So look at your customer journey and identify the areas that would drive the most value to you. And I love the idea of make it easy and keep it simple. Let's not solve a problem for a customer or for somebody in a chain by creating complexities, because at the end of the day, your employees are your customers as well, because being able to do something simpler for a customer that creates 10x work internally may not be justifiable. So I know you're a customer of ours, and you're looking and investing in technology and improvements, and always looking at, how do I make it simple? How do I make it easier to deal with us? How do you go through that process of deciding what makes sense for SMIC, for your brokers, And what are some of the projects that you can just give us a little bit of insights that you have done or looking to do?
Well, I think it is, we look at the availability of how you pay was one of it. And a lot of it came from just what our agents and brokers are looking to do. And so, credit card payments, I mean, it is, and how you handle that. And you've got to be very careful because of there's information there that has to be protected. And so that adds on to more onto your systems. So it was one of those where, as we started into the project years ago, taking credit cards in, and how we did that turned into, well, our system had to be adapted to it, and then we also have to add, more security put on our systems. And because if you gather a credit card number, you don't want that around. You don't want that sitting around, and it can't be. So that idea, that's what started that. And again, it was just trying to make it easy for someone to do business with, going back to that theory. And so if you get what we're doing is when you're dealing with a number of products that we have they're low premium, and so they can be minimum premium, which is $200 up to a couple $1,000, which is a mainstream business that we have. And so you're doing a high volume. So again, your touch points and efficiencies are so important. And to get to where we wanted to get to, it didn't happen overnight. It took us a while to get there. But, the credit card's digital aspect, taking payments, that was key to how we can simplify what we do. As far as for our agents, again, our agents, brokers, the ones asking for it. And their clients are asking for it. Now, I'm not saying all of them. Our larger clients, our K through 12, our college business, they still write us a check. That's fine. We'll take it. But it's something that we're continue to move forward with. And as our operation systems, we change. It's just a constant change. And I always look at our IT budget, and it doesn't go down. It continues to go up. And but it's something that you have to have. I really think it's probably going to increase quite a bit here in the coming years.
Makes sense. Payments is something that every organization, specifically in insurance, has to deal with. You're collecting premiums, paying out claims. I know you and I chatted about getting away from pushing paper and manual laborious tasks. So it looks like you're covering everything. And you brought up something that we didn't chat before. It's that burden of PCI compliance and accepting correctly, being compliant, which then increases the IT cost to support different channels of payments and different means of payments. Kind of brings us to our next slide. We always look at it from, are you really optimizing that electronic payment experience? And also, really, what is the difference between electronic experience or digital payments? Because a lot of providers will say, well, I accept credit card, I accept bank-to-bank transfers and so on. I am, the payment side of it is digitized, if you will. And we look at it as digital is not electronic. Because when you look at that journey or customer journey, there's a lot of friction when it comes to electronic payments. If we're looking at pre-authorized agreements, bank-to-bank transfers, or credit card, it still requires the end customer to fill a fair bit of information, anything from policy numbers, customer name, rekeying policy, how much are you paying, adding your credit card information, knowing what your transits, routing in a bank account is, which a lot of us, well, I don't think any of us know off the top of our head, and might be challenging to find. So there's a lot of friction because that process wasn't really, it's not an Amazon-like experience. It was not necessarily meant for online shopping. And then internally, it creates a lot of complexities because you've gone from maybe one or two types of payments to a breadth of different payment options. Now you're dealing with merchant accounts, processing accounts, bank accounts, still some checks, as you mentioned. You're handling all of this manually, posting that data back to your system manually, reconciling. So even though it's electronic, it's not touchless. It's friction filled for customers as well as internal staff. Making it easy to use, like a click of a button or a touchless transaction that automatically posts to your system, it's easy to use. That's where that layer of digital technology really helps out. You do want to offer a breadth of different payment options, but importantly, I mean, I keep thinking about that story, the Atlanta airport, and I'm probably one of those folks going down with my head buried in my phone. It's reaching them the way they want to be reached. Make it easy for me to pay. Make it online mobile because that's the way I want to pay, but make it frictionless. And then all of that in an integrated sense provides you not just a great customer experience, great staff experience, streamlined operation because it's now a lot less costly to handle that. You're removing a lot of manual labor. But there's also real-time visibility because in a digital experience, when a customer makes a payment and it's posted directly to your system, not only does it eliminate all that friction, but to you, it gives you a great visibility of what policies you have, what policies are paid, how much you need to pay out in commission in real time. So can you talk a bit about value of, you know, moving towards that frictionless, touchless experience and the difference between simple electronic versus the digital experience?
Well, it's, you know, you hit a lot there, and a lot of this is we didn't, as we addressed it within special markets, we didn't go through the 5 items you have there, but you know, as we looked at this thing and we're trying to build something that's long-term value, and to do that, and for SMIC and for a customer, how do we do this and what's the best experience for them? And again, going back to the ease, the thing about it is internally, it helps our employees, and a lot of it is just how you handle this. And I think from as you change things internally, you know, which will change behavior you have within an organization, and what you want is a positive experience. And this for our employees has been a positive experience, mainly because of it's. So you said they're not have to touch everything so much. You know, we're not running. You know, if you saw on a twice a month how many commission checks we issue, it's, believe me, it's a lot. You know, it's time consuming, and if we can do everything from as far as paying agents, paying our carriers, paying what we need to pay electronically, it simplifies a lot. And the other thing, it cuts down on error. And that is, to me, that was very key. The other thing, as I said earlier, that a lot of this came from, you know, started what our customer wanted. And, you know, can you take credit cards? Can you do this? And so, you know, that's part of it. Listening to the end user. But all of this is what you said here is why you do it. And that's why SMIC does this and continue to do it and continue to expand what we do.
Makes sense. I mean, we live and breathe this stuff, so we break down our customer journey into the areas of where we can drive value. Feels like you sort of do it the same way, but with that many years of experience, you have an intuition that breaks this down rather than having to put it on paper like we do. Thank you for that, Kim. And then talking about payments, and I know you brought it up a number of times. We see that as, you know, the starting of any relationship is with the payment. So it's an important part of the value chain. We didn't talk about the errors, and I'm glad you brought it up because it is a real problem, especially for an organization in your space when the volumes of policies and volumes of payments is significant. You know, errors can just multiply the time spent. So when we look at value of digitizing payments, some of the key five, and these are very, I like to call them treetops, high level. I'll let you help me expand on it, but I think you covered a lot around the return on time invested, but you also added that errors, making it simple for your staff to be able to handle the volumes, optimize and streamline those processes, because they can do higher value work rather than keying data off of a merchant sheet or something like that. But it is also making it easy for the customer to deal with you. Like, you just simplifying the process, but you're also accommodating their requests. As you said, it was the customer that wanted to move to online payments. It's the customers that were kind of pushing it towards credit cards. So digitizing that acceptance in a way where it's less work for your staff rather than more, and meeting the customer expectation in a great way. It just seems like a win-win. Obviously, it's a cash flow improvement from a perspective that, even when we track our clients, by being able to deliver something simple and easy, they seem to pay faster, so there's a potential yield on that. But you're also not spending extra time chasing down collections, and whose policies are covered and whose are not. And overall, it enhances the agency brand. I love the obsession almost about keep it simple, make it easy to deal with you, because that's what the end customer wants, and it brings that it enhances your brand to the marketplace. Be it that it's your ultimate customer, brokers going, wow, SMIC is excellent to deal with, great knowledge, great information, great platforms, as well as translating that to their end customer. And all of this, really drives that return on investments, improving efficiency, streamlining operations, obviously new business opportunities, because customers like me have ADD and I want something simple, easy, and click. And then around customer retention. So I do know I've thrown a lot here, but you brought up the payment process a number of times. It feels like this could be a low-hanging fruit because, dealing with us, this isn't a massive project. This isn't, your 6 to 18 months. This can be done in stages, and it could drive significant return. Can you talk a little bit about, digitizing payment process and expand on some of these high-level points that you feel passionate about?
Yes, it's, and really your 4 points are, we put it in a different format a little bit, but yeah, that's exactly what you're trying to do when you are changing what you did in the past and going forward, and setting this up. I will say, it was pretty simple to make the decision. It wasn't that simple to implement everything, just because there's different steps to go through it.
That's right.
But it wasn't that difficult. And the main thing is what it does for you is your number 5 here, your ROI. And what you're trying to do is, your return on investment is something it's important. And what does it do? Does it improve our customer satisfaction? Absolutely. That's why we're doing it. Does it improve cash flow? Yeah, it does. Does it enhance your agency brand? I'm not sure if it enhances your agency brand for us so much is the producers and agents that we do business with and like to do business with us. And part of it is that customer satisfaction. It is doing a little bit more for them. But, it is, and at the same time is, okay, at the end of the day, if they want to pay by credit card, if they want to pay for this way, we can handle it. So we have to be adaptable. Depends on who our agent and broker is. Your larger brokers, and it is maybe the digital thing, and the credit card isn't that important to them because we deal with them differently. Your smaller agencies or a mom and pop shop, I will say, that has 1 or 2 accounts with you, that might be very important for them. And so it's a combination, but we put it there for a reason. It's no more why we continue to invest in our operation systems. It's there for a reason, and that is to improve what SMIC does for the end user.
Perfect. Yeah. When we're mentioning enhancing great agency brand, I think that part kind of morphs really with what you were mentioning before about how you want to make it easy to deal with you, so that the perception is that SMIC is a great a company to deal with because they make it easy to deal with you. But I absolutely understand your point. So now we're coming to the end of our session. I think we covered a really broad range of topics. Hopefully we provided a lot of insights and potential areas for opportunities where you can enhance customer experience, streamline operations. We understand that not all organizations are the same. As Kim, you were mentioning how you're dealing with the end customer who's your broker, and your broker is dealing with the end customer that is a consumer. So not all organizations are the same, but the evolution, and it's a big evolution, in many ways, in order to expedite the digital transformation, it's to figure out where to even start. So the way we looked at it, and hopefully you saw that to the audience during our discussion, is review your customer journey. Identify the friction points. I know we spent a lot of time around digitizing payments because pretty much everybody in the insurance industry, no matter what the setup is, has to deal with payments coming in, payments coming out. Identify friction points, and then review the impact of adding credit cards. What's the impact of merchant processing fees? Can we do something around that or convenience that? Or when we accept credit card processing, what is the impact on internal operation? I love the fact that you brought up the IT support, the compliance, on top of the fact that now you're posting these payments and reconciling off of merchant statements manually. So are we satisfying the customer but potentially creating a significant financial impact and complexities in our own environment? And that, I think, will lead you to identify high value opportunities. One of the things, and I think it's intuitive, is for any project to be a success is to set measurable objectives. I know with our clients, we work to help them onboard customers. So just a little pitch about SimplePin. We eliminate friction from collecting payments to posting directly to the system so that the transaction becomes completely electronic. So it's a great customer experience, but it's also an incredible experience for the internal staff to streamline the process, take the burden of compliance and IT. But one of the things that we also work with our customers is, because now when this is deployed, is helping them convert clients onto the platform, because the customer's getting benefits, as well as the more you can automate, the bigger the benefits would be for our clients. So it is about setting, tracking, and measuring objectives. I think, Kim, you probably have already answered all of this, but so I just wanted to see if you had any final thoughts or something to add. You know, where do we start digital transformation? Because for many people, it might be overwhelming. There's so many areas in an insurance world. It's not a very simple industry.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is from, you know, where you are, you know, wherever, you know, what companies that where you are from an IT standpoint and type of customer that you have, it's you know, that kind of drives, you know, does the digital, you know, credit card, how you do this and how you interact, does that make sense? As I mentioned before, you know, SMIC's high volume business, low premium, you can't have a lot of touch points. And so it makes a lot of sense for us. And, you know, so I think that's the one thing I would say to anybody who's listening here is that's the thing you got to identify. And, you know, it's, but it will, if it does work that way, it'll make a big difference in your ROI. It really will.
Well, perfect. Thank you for that. So now we have reached the end point of our presentation and the chats. We're going to move into the Q&A section, see if there's any questions. So let me just figure out if we can see Q&A.
Yeah, Mislav, I was actually sent a few that I can ask you if that works.
Perfect.
So let me pull this up. Mislav, so since SimplePin integrates with Applied, how does that actually enhance the experience for clients, brokers, and their customers?
It's a great question. I think very relevant because it's Applied Client Network that we're dealing with. So what we've done is we've looked at the payment space, and we approach it from a financial technology or perspective rather than strictly traditional payments. We've looked at it saying that a traditional, as Kim was mentioning, there's ways to accept credit cards, but they can be friction filled for the customer as well as the staff. So you have a high volume of policies coming in, and you have a high volume of transactions that you now have to manually figure out and post back to your Applied system. What we've done is we invested in a deep integration with the Applied systems. So we are fully integrated with Epic, and we also have an integration coming out with the TAM system as well, where the whole process becomes frictionless. So information is generated from the Applied system, presented to the customer. Once they click a button and approve it, all of that data is posted back directly to the Applied system. So integration or integrating those moving parts is extremely important, making a difference where you're no longer handling thousands and thousands of payments manually, but they're being posted in real time. So it's experience, but it's also integration of the systems and processes.
Perfect. And then we had one more question. This one was for Kim. So Kim, have you seen the investment in digital transformation pay off, even though you mentioned an increase in IT budget?
Yes, we have. It's, your ongoing managing of IT is always a challenge. But the return that we had when we invested in this, it did two things. So, at first it wasn't so much a dollar amount, it was what our customer focus and what we did with them. It also allowed us to grow our customer base, and that was basic word of mouth. So as we look at this going back when we first started this, is we knew what the investment was going to be. We saw how long is it going to take to pay for itself? And I would say probably from the investment stuff like this and we've done, probably it was over a year, but I would say probably 12 to 18 months before it paid for itself. And, now it's just, we grow more and more and more within that space of taking credit cards and that digital aspect of it. So the answer is, you build it with your budget, you have it, you have your IT budget. It's just something that we felt was necessary to compete, but it did pay for itself.
Perfect. And yeah, those were the only two questions we got in.
Perfect. Well, at this point, Kim, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you all on the call very much for spending the time today. Please feel free to reach out to please feel free to reach out to SimplePin if you have any questions around digital payment experience and what we do, as well as Kim and the folks that's making AmWINS about what they do. I'd like to really thank the Applied Client Network for hosting us, and for everybody on the call. Hopefully it was time well spent because we understand you're taking time out of your busy schedule. So have a wonderful day. I think Sarah has some closing notes, and have a wonderful rest of your day.